Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Queenie. Welcome to another episode of the Relationship Zone. In the background, you were listening to my buddy D'Amico Star, and that was from his new single, "Baby Don't Go." It sounds so good. I may play a little bit more of that for you all. Yeah, there he is. Hey. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. That's enough. All right. So tonight we are speaking with um a friend of mine. I actually have recorded with this gentleman some time ago and had some issues with my recording, and so we lost it. So um he decided to come back by and sit down and talk with me, and I could not be happier than to have Daniel joining us. So he'll be with us in a few moments. But before he stops by, I want to just kind of give you a little bit of, I guess, a taste of what we'll be talking about. It's been a little while since you all have heard me just get on here and kind of tell my thoughts and how I feel about things, but, without me, interviewing someone. But I want to take a moment to share why we're recording tonight. Daniel and I have a very similar way of looking at communication and relationships. And we both know that it doesn't necessarily work unless you have someone to work it with. Um, and for myself, I'm always looking for a higher um, or a mastery of self, a master of who I am, and just trying to be a better person in general. The older I get, the more I see the error in my own ways. And I can't help but look back at relationships and how I have showed up for relationships and um, what I've received in return. I do believe that we put out certain energies, we get certain energies, and then there's other times where we're on the receiving end of things that we didn't necessarily earn. Just that's the journey of our soul. So now I'm very conscious of what I'm doing because I'm looking for that energy that I'm giving out. I'm looking for it to come back, that energy. So uh, tonight we're talking about communication, art of communication, courting and connecting within relationships. And one of the things, or one of the points I want to make before we get started is, I think it's very, very important in any relationship, but definitely intimate relationships, as I am on this journey to find my mate, my partner, my love. Um, One thing I'm trying to be very conscious of is being timely in my disputes and in my arguments and disagreements. Um, I think that's important, trying to make sure that we're timely in handling the issues versus allowing them to just hold over for, a long period of time while the other person suffers. Um, and also being flexible. That's important to me. Is being able to be flexible within my thinking and not having to have it all my way without really hearing my partner, hearing what my partner needs, being patient and being intuitive, making sure that I listen to my heart and I feel the energy that the person in front of me is giving to me and not just listening with my head or waiting to just respond. And also this can actually protect me and help me to realize that the person in front of me that may be communicating to me very harshly means me no good. So I want to make sure that I'm very intuitive when I'm listening to the person in front of me and being accepting, non-judgmental. If that person is miserable and unhappy with me, it's not no judgment. It's just a fact, and I need to make my exit. And if the person is sharing with me some of the things that I'm doing and however I'm making them feel, there too, I need to just take a moment, pause, and listen. And lastly, I think it's hugely important to be honest. And that's, my honesty has come sometimes as a double-edged sword, and sometimes it's come, as passive. And I think I'm protecting someone by not being as brutally but gently as honest as possible. Instead, I think I'm saving someone from the reality or the inevitable. So I want to remain very conscious of my honesty. And if it's not working for me, I need to be honest about that um, and encourage honesty in my relationship. So that's kind of my thought as we're going into this discussion. And I hope you all enjoy it. And leave us a comment, leave us, a question or message or something. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. So this is your girl Queenie from the Relationship Zone, and we are going right into our discussion with Daniel. Welcome, welcome, welcome back, Daniel, to another Relationship Zone podcast discussion. What's going on?
Nothing much. Thanks for having me back. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm so glad that you are back with us. I had spoken to the audience earlier, letting them know that I'd had a little mishap with our previous recording, and you decided you would definitely stop by the podcast, and I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you called.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're looking good.
Thank you. Thank you.
New year, happy New Year.
Likewise, Happy New Year to you. And I love that
Thank
blue.
you.
I love
Thank
that
you so
blue.
much. Thank you so much. So
Yes,
and
ma'am.
look, I'm loving that Black Squad London shirt. So we're 9 days into this new year. Anything new? How are things going your way?
The relationship wise, right? Up and
Yeah,
down as always.
yeah,
Usually the incline is better than the decline, so that's good. That's all we can hope for, right?
that's it.
Um, Work is doing good, getting ready, inaugurations happening. We're in the DC area, so that affects, any and everybody who's military.
Mhm.
So getting ready for that. Obviously, some other events
Yeah,
took place in DC area.
of course, of course. We
So
be
again,
wilding over here.
yes, ma'am. But I mean, overall things are good. Family safe,
Good,
healthy. Nobody's had COVID for a
good. Oh,
year,
that's
right?
wonderful.
Knock on
Yeah.
wood.
Yes,
Guess
yes. Let me
what?
find some.
So we're doing good.
All
Yes,
right,
ma'am.
that's really good to hear, Daniel. So listeners, Daniel Davenport, he is back with us. As I shared earlier, I love the way he thinks about love and relationship and life. I really enjoy engaging with this brother, and so I'm really happy to have him back here talking with me on this evening. Earlier today, I was talking to the listeners about this podcast, and I said, this podcast here, we're just going to be discussing, amongst other things, but the art of communication and courtship and connecting. Um, and I shared with you earlier, Daniel, that my way of thinking about this, my new quest, because I'm looking for love now, right? So I'm putting that out
Wow.
there in the universe, because now I'm looking for love, right? And so with me looking for love, yeah, anyway, yeah. So with me looking for love, uh, I have learned there's a few things that are quite important to me, and I want to be able to authentically show up and authentically, truly pursue love, right? And be ready and
Mhm.
accepting of it. And I wrote a few things down, and I'll share them again. Shared them with the audience earlier, but I was telling myself to make sure that I am timely, I'm flexible, I'm patient, I'm intuitive, I am accepting, and I'm honest in my relationship.
Yes.
Tell me how you feel about that.
Look, look, all of them,
Yeah,
all of them. It's timely. You
yeah.
know, if I could, I put honesty first. That's
Honest.
actually
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
the
Oh,
things
it's
that.
not in a particular order,
No,
but
yeah, I understand. I understand. In my relationship right now with my wife, one of the things that we deal with, the difference between us, I think people as a whole believe that sometimes honesty is an option.
mm,
Um, and is it hard to be honest all the time? It could be, right? And you think about, for example, if you have your own traumas or issues that
mhm,
you're dealing with and going through, and maybe you're in therapy, maybe you're not, but when you get to a position where sometimes people have to be comfortable to share something, right?
mhm, mhm,
In the
mhm.
midst of not being able to share that, you may be lying.
Yeah.
And so for that other person that knows that you're lying or has to deal with that,
Mhm.
they're expected to understand that the reason you're not sharing is because you're not comfortable, which should be respected.
Right.
But the back end of that is that's still a lie. Not always, right? But some
Right. Right.
situations
Right.
which you're not
Right.
sharing could be a lie. And so
Mhm.
now they're also dealing with that. And sometimes that's where you get between that rock and the hard place where it's almost as if not acknowledging, hey, I recognize that I can't share this because I'm not ready, and acknowledging what that means behind it to make the other person feel comfortable. Because to me, without that, it's as if you should be able to lie until you're ready to tell the truth.
Ooh, ooh, boy. Been there, done it.
Hmm.
And it will come back and backfire and bite you in the butt.
Hmm.
I've learned that. And I 100% agree with you on that. And I do believe it is difficult for us to face the reality that what we say may one run this person off. That's typically the negative thought. It's never like, oh, they're going to just be accepting of it and they're going to love
Correct.
me through it. It's always that fear of,
Hmm.
because we lack the faith that if I tell him or her how I'm feeling for real, maybe they'll still choose me. We sometimes lack that faith. Or because that's why I said it, when I put the be accepting to myself, that is for me to not to be too judgmental. So if I'm
Yes.
consciously trying to make sure that I'm accepting, now I'm talking of healthy behaviors or even behaviors that I can truly understand and empathize with,
Hmm.
then your honesty is welcomed. It's not rejected because now I'm
Yes.
looking at what you're telling me, hopefully through a non-judgmental lens. And instead, I'm accepting of your vulnerability and your willingness to be honest with me.
Yes. That you said a couple things to me.
Hold on, I'm losing you a little bit. I don't know what happened. Say it again. No, you're going in and out. I know this is going to be good.
Can you hear me now?
All right, perfect, D. So we're back. Go ahead and pick up wherever we left off.
Yeah, so there was a couple things that you had mentioned
Mhm.
where you talked about being authentic, and you talked about being accepting and being non-judgmental. And so, you know, what I'm learning is it's not easy to remove yourself when trying to understand someone else, which I believe is a part of what helps you be not judgmental. When somebody says, hey, I want to understand what you're saying or your perspective on something, right? The biggest thing I'm dealing with right now is perspective, right?
Right.
Different perspectives. And so I find myself saying, you have to remove yourself when your response is, well, I don't think, or I don't feel, or then
Hmm.
you're not really keeping it on that person's side of the table to understand them. You should take what they're saying and reference it against what they've done or what they've said previously or what they're showing you to
Hmm.
help understand their thought process, at which point then they don't feel that they're being judged because you're only keeping it within what they are presenting to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when people feel that they're not being judged, like you said, they do feel more accepted, which also makes them want to be more honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think that if that's not in a relationship, it's going to create real issues
Hmm.
on several different fronts, right? And I think these affirmations for me in my pursuit of love and happiness is really for me to be more authentic, for myself to show up properly so that I can understand better and I can set my expectation for my partner as well to show up likewise. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Because I'm not asking anything of you that I'm not willing to give from myself.
If you're not authentic to yourself, can your partner truly make you happy or give you what you're asking for if what you're asking for is not true to what you really want?
Listen, no, because now my partner is giving me something that is not what I really want. I'm just pretending to want it. That's not truth.
Correct.
Now, I don't know why that happens. I mean, someone could be doing that because of the ideal or the thought or the fascination with love. You know what I mean? Or the
Hmm.
ideal of relationship.
Romanticizing what it
Yes.
should be or what it should feel like.
Yes.
What I've experienced is that people like to put their best foot forward or their best face, when they
Mhm.
meet people. And that's why we kind of have this rotation thing where you meet somebody and then people say, oh well, you don't really know them yet, because you got to
Mhm.
wait 3 weeks or
Yeah.
6 months or you
Mhm.
know until
Four
you don't know,
seasons.
right, or you don't know somebody till you live with them because
Mhm.
we're so busy putting up these faces, these masks of who we really are and what we really want for whatever reason,
Yeah.
that the person never really truly gets to know us,
Mhm.
you know and once
Yeah.
you become accepting of yourself, I'm still learning as I go, but I feel like I've got to a point where when I meet people, prior to being married, and even when I got married,
Mhm.
what you see is what you're getting on day one.
Yeah.
You're going to get that. The only changes will be improvement for our relationship,
Mhm.
but it won't be, I told you at the beginning that I like, olives, and then 6 months in, I don't like olives. Like, no,
Hater. Right.
I'm going to give
Yeah.
you me from the beginning
Mhm.
because I don't want you, I don't, it can be an argument. It will be an issue, and you
Yeah.
could feel cheated.
Oh, listen, you can definitely feel cheated because what you did, you signed on for what they showed you. You signed on for this self that you thought was authentic, only to find out it wasn't. And
Yes.
you do feel very cheated. I think that
Hmm.
people should be honest about that. Like you really got to be honest. Like, you know what, I did sell her, a bag of tricks, you know.
Yes.
So if she's
Yes.
upset, I earned that, or vice versa, if he's upset.
Hmm.
Um, you were talking, and it made me kind of think about sometimes I believe, you know, we, and I'm just talking about in general, this whoever this person is, because they're
Hmm.
out here, we put up a facade pretending to be something, ultimately because we want a true, honest outcome. That that cancels each other out. It's not going to happen that way.
Correct.
You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm going to pretend, and then at the end, what I want is something that's real. That doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
that's like me planting, what is it? Turf, like the football field turf, but
Hmm.
expecting to watch the grass actually grow. Right.
Correct.
Because I think this turf isn't, yeah, turf is like a synthetic, right? So
Yeah.
it's like me planting the turf, but I'm waiting to watch it grow so I can mow it because I really like mowing lawns.
It's gonna be a long wait. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
long
you know what I
wait.
mean? It's not realistic. And I think sometimes we do that in our relationships. So many areas of our relationship.
Hmm.
We'll pretend that we like the food that you're talking about. We'll pretend that we like going places that we hate. We'll pretend that we like certain positions in bed,
Hmm.
thinking later it's all gonna work out, and I'm gonna either marry him or her. I'm gonna be set for life with him or her. I'm gonna have this, house with a, white picket fence and a dog and 3 kids. but you started off lying the whole entire time.
Hmm. Yeah. And sometimes it's not even, there definitely are people who are straight up selling wolf tickets, right? But then
Absolutely.
there's also those who are doing it unintentionally. Um,
Yeah.
setting habits and standards. Oh, I'm gonna say love, but at this point in a relationship, usually it's lust. But I'm
Yeah.
so in love with her that I want to take her on these dates, and she deserves to go somewhere nice, and I want
Yeah.
to call her every day because we got to talk because I just want to hear her voice, and then you set that expectation, and
Yeah.
then it changes, or
Yeah.
maybe they change, and and now we're upset at each other, or we have issues, and not even because of the change for some people, but
Mhm.
simply because we can't be honest and discuss the
Mhm.
changes as they come, because part of the flexibility that you mentioned is change. At the beginning
Absolutely.
of the relationship, I may have liked going out to fancy dinners, but guess what? Whether my wallet got thin, or hey, maybe my palate changed, or who knows, but
Yeah.
being able to discuss with you, hey, you know what, we've been hitting these fancy spots, and I just, my stomach ain't having it.
Yeah.
Let's have
Yeah.
something else. I just want to stay
Absolutely.
in with you.
Yeah.
I want to
I
go
just
to free picnics.
exactly. Yeah. I just prefer that we order in tonight. Being honest about that. Like being
Yes.
for real about what you prefer. But see, this is the other thing. This is the other thing. This art of communicating that I
Hmm.
think we some have lost. Some have lost, right? But it is being able being able to truly say early on what you like, what you do not like, and it being okay because the
Yes.
right person is going to hear you. And it doesn't
Yes.
mean that you're going to have your way and get everything you want and don't, it doesn't mean that. It means that at least I've heard you, and I will put forth every effort to accommodate some of those things. And likewise, I would like the same.
Or I can let you know now that's not something I think I can do.
It's can't even
but
do it.
but
You
yes,
know?
yes. Oh man. So I like that, as I don't want to sound the way that I know that things can sometimes sound. So I'm always growing and looking for room for improvement, and
Right.
learning new things. But I do know the things that I practice currently, and one of those things is, hey, no, no, I don't like that. So my wife or my kids will, hey, Mr. Daniel or babe, you wanna do this, or do you like
Yeah.
these, or no, and they would just take it and run. I say, stop, stop.
Yeah.
One, sometimes there's attitude, and I'm like,
Hmm.
why are you getting, you asked me what do I want,
Yeah.
you didn't ask what I was willing to do. You didn't. No, I don't want to get up and do dishes,
Yeah.
but if you ask me,
Yeah.
babe, can you go do the dishes, all right, I'll go do them. But you asked me what I want, and
Right.
I have to try to, hey, we're asking, what do you want? Tell me
Hmm.
what you want, and then we can discuss. But also, no, telling me what you want doesn't mean you're going to get it. It just means
No.
you've given me the opportunity to know about you and what your wants and desires are. And if I'm able to or willing to, then I can do that. But
Mhm.
without you ever telling me, you're not giving me any opportunity to be
Absolutely.
the person that you want me to be for you.
Yeah. 100% agree. We have to use our words, and those words have to land in a place that it's safe in order for this song and dance to go well. It's not
Hmm.
going to always go perfect, and we're not always going to be happy, but at least chance
Yes.
give a chance and stop being so afraid that, and you know what, I think some of us need to be able to deal with a little bit of rejection, right?
Hmm.
Because again, if it's coming from a place of love and it's coming from our loved one, and it's coming, again, this is not like an abusive relationship, I'm just talking about,
Right.
just you, myself, trying to master our higher self.
Hmm.
Right, you know what? It's okay that you said no. So, babe, are you okay if I go do it? Or, could, like, is there any compromise here? You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, is there, again, some people are just, I guess, you know, you just cannot compromise, talk with them. You absolutely reject everything. Well, that's not where you need to spend all your energy. You know what I
Correct.
mean? Like, and that you have to know when to fold them. I think that's who is that? Kenny Rogers. Know when to fold them, know when
You
to
gotta
hold them, know
know
when to
when
put
to
them away.
hold them.
Big
Look,
ups, big ups, big ups. Love that song.
I almost started
Know when
singing
to
it.
run away, you know. Yeah, you got
Yes,
to know
ma'am.
when to do that. You know, I think it's that you count your money. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. Yeah, you just got to know when to say, you know what, I'm done. Okay, I've tried and this is not working. And I've, again, it's our communication. But if it's rejected on the other side,
Hmm.
the only person I can control in that moment is myself. Can't control
Yeah,
you, right?
yeah.
So you mentioned something, and it made me start thinking about the courtship. That whole you don't know them yet,
Hmm.
getting to know a person. There is something to be said about intentional courtship.
Hmm.
Now, I am in pursuit of my own, but how do you see intentional courtship? Um, and do you even understand, what is your definition? I won't say do you understand, but what is your definition of courtship? And then tell me how see how that plays in the relationship or the dating kind of journey.
So, at the first thought of hearing courtship, you naturally think the male courting the woman because that's
Mhm,
kind of how society has placed everyone,
mhm,
from the old times to coming into the current. But as the times have changed, we have our independent women, you know,
yeah. Oh,
and
no.
we're also learning, a man has feelings too, and it's important for him to learn how to tap into those or also be wanted, right? And
Mm,
so with that, I believe courtship is both people courting each other because the relationship is about both. That
mhm,
could be the earliest stage of setting up bad um what's the word I'm looking for, a path, setting the path
mhm,
in
mhm,
the way of, this is what he will always do for me, or this is what he should do because he's courting me, where these dates come from, or this undivided attention constantly. So for me, when I think about courtship, I think, is the man going to have to initiate or something to that matter? Sure, right? Hey, no fancy line. I think we should be able to come up and say, hey, wow, your outfit looks great.
mhm,
And I really love the lipstick. It really makes your lips stand out. And
mhm,
whatever I think about you that's beautiful, that I
mhm,
want to compliment you on,
mhm,
because maybe I just want to tell you that. And so, you know, breaking the ice, communicating
mhm,
with you. Hey, can I have your number? I'd like to get to know you better.
mhm,
If if you feel the same and you say, hey, I think he's a nice guy, I'd like to get to know him, then we exchange information. And I can invite you on a date. Now, if you're an independent woman and you say, hey, I'm gonna invite you on a date, you know, then that's what it is. Like, you got to know where your people are. Am I
yeah.
okay with a woman inviting me on a date, or am I not okay with that? Right.
Mhm,
But the dating happens, and during that dating, there's, hopefully we don't have our mask on, but we're getting to know each other. Um, it's customary over meals, or wine if you drink, or whatever it is. And for me, the intent is to not just learn about what the person can say, but
mhm,
about how the person conducts themselves physically,
yeah.
you know, in your presence. Are our auras, vibing, or are they completely off? As I sit
Mhm,
across from you at the table and I look at your teeth and look at your fingernails and look at, the crust around your eyes, or whatever it is that I'm looking at, because I want to know more about you than what you're telling me. I don't
yeah.
know the quote, but was it believe half of what you hear, and
Not and
twice of what nothing of what you see, or something. I
yeah.
don't I don't know the quote, but you
Yeah.
know, you got to take all those things into account. And so during that dating process, one, two, three dates, and you're trying to fill each other out, you know, I think it should go both ways, as well as the female should be. Well, they're usually definitely doing that about the man. The man's usually just trying to see if he can get in the pants. But hopefully, if he's looking for love, he's
Tell the
he's
truth.
he's assessing more than she has a nice body, you
Mhm,
know. But the same way that woman wants to feel special from him, whether it's where he takes her, or how much he shows that he's committed to her even in this early stage, the man is also looking for that. And so the woman should be providing the same type of interest in him,
Hmm.
outside of the material things. A lot of the questions or interests that women show in the man are what he can provide versus what is he interested in for himself and what you can provide as well to him, because you're both trying to see what the other person can bring to your life, because that's to me what relationships are about.
Yeah.
So it should be going both ways, not just what you can bring to mine, but what I can bring to yours. If you're a architect and I'm a drum player, we could have a relationship, but where do you want to go and where do you see yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to be in a rock band and be on tour. You're trying to build buildings and settle down somewhere. And, if we both look down the road, our paths probably aren't that close to each other.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean it can't work, but at least we're discussing that and we can understand that. So for me, the courtship is kind of that process. And I feel like I can't really say like this and this and this, because there's so many variants of the type of people that you deal with to
Yeah.
try to put it in a box. But basically both sides looking to see what the other person can bring to their life and what they can bring to theirs, if the goal is to have a future together and not just, you know, a one
Yeah.
night stand or something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that courtship, I think there's I think it's missing in a lot of our especially in my experience. I'll put it this way because someone may hear this and be like, girl, no, he courted me, or some dude would be like, I don't know what she's talking about, because we out here courting in these streets. So first of all, let's go back. You said we're there and we don't have our mask on, but we were meaning figuratively, because literally we're gonna still have our mask on out here in the streets, but no, 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 seriously, you're right. We can only hope that we run into people that are not wearing their mask, right? But we know that that's not true. We know, as you said,
Right.
like, there's this thing about putting your best foot forward, but how often does that best foot show up in day-to-day life? I want
Correct.
to be able to put my day-to-day, like I may dress up for the dates, but when I show up, I want to be able to be as blunt as I can be. I want to be able to be as submissive as I can be. I want to be able to be as funny as I can be. And I also want to be able to be as honest as I can be, and maybe sometimes serious. I want that to be okay. That needs to be acceptable, and it needs to be welcomed. And I'm hoping that on the other end, I'm receiving. We know that that doesn't happen all the time, but it would be great. And again, that whole, looking at self and saying, be authentic and be intentional. Let me use that word. That should be, I mean, I know that word has been circulating for a while now, but intentionality is very, very important, right? You got
Yes.
to be intentional, even in courtship. What are you doing
Yes.
it for?
Yes.
I know I have met individuals that have said, they're out here in these streets dating. But you ask, ask them what they want and what they're trying to, accomplish. And it's just, I'm just gonna kick it for a little bit. I mean, but what does that mean?
Was,
They
was it a
may,
guy?
yeah, yeah. But no, I listen, you know, I just think intentionality is very important. And the courtship part of this, I think it's so important to court male and female, right? So I'm not saying that guys should only court me. I'm saying that if I'm pursuing a guy, I need to make him feel courted as well. Like,
Mhm.
and you're right. It's kind of like traditionally it's been kind of the guy thing to court. Um, but times have changed. We've evolved. So excuse me, I don't think we have to do it that way anymore. I think that, I think you hit on this, and I want to ask you, but there are men that have a desire to feel courted as well, right? To feel
Mhm.
that there is a real interest, a genuine interest. to feel that you want that person wants to know how you are doing, what your day is like, the things you're interested in, where would you like to go, can
Hmm.
what's that thing on your bucket list, where's the place in the DC area you've never gone and you really want to go, you know it seems like it can be very one-sided, but I think in a courtship process, that's how we should maybe consider dating, and
Hmm.
stay out of the bed, stay out of these intimate spaces where the temptation is high, you know. But that's just me. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox because I know somebody now is listening. They're like, doggone it. But listen, again, I'm now single and looking, although I'm dating, you know, I am dating. I want to make it seem like I'm not, just in case anybody listening, like, wait, we just went out last times. But no. Um, but this is just how I see, showing up. And I think there is an art of courtship that has been lost. And
Hmm.
on both, I think it's an art of courtship that's been lost on the male side, some men, and I think that it has not been found on the woman's side.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
new for the woman's side. They're stepping out of the traditional submissive wait for the male to court me role and
Yeah.
stepping into I'm an independent woman. And it's like, oh, I got a courtship comes with that. I got I can't just be independent but still want him to come to me. No, you
Yeah.
got to get out there, girl. But
Yeah.
lace them
So,
shoes
so,
up.
so tell me, how important is it to you? And how important was it to you? And even your male friends that are
Hmm.
still, I know you have single male friends.
Hmm.
Just let them know that I am too. No, I'm just kidding. Well, for self, no, 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 no. But how important, like when you are talking to the fellas, is
Hmm.
it for men that in your circle to feel valued from their women, or women that say that they're interested in you?
So it, you know, so a male circle conversation is different than what you're going to hear a male say in an open
Okay.
space or with basically with other women around.
Okay.
Um, so it's very important. Now, the way that it translates is most of the time men feel like we are only wanted for what we can provide.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what it looks like for us to be excuse me, to feel like we're more than that is when you have interest in us outside of what we can provide you, or when you're willing to basically pay or provide for us, not because we want it or need it. Obviously, this is not all men, but
Yeah.
not because we want it or we need it, but it's because it lets us know that you're not just after us for what we can provide you. And I'm not talking about in the bedroom. I mean financially, or I have the nice car, or I have the access to the club, or whatever these things are. So for me, before I got married, um, I would go on dates. Hey, you want to go out sometime? Yeah, okay. Get on the first date. We're eating. Wait till the entree comes. Yeah. Start talking about, oh, you've been dating. Okay, cool. You okay? Last relationship. Beautiful, beautiful. Um, so when you gonna take me out? I want to know where you're gonna take me to, because I want to know. Because
You
that
would
for
you
me,
would actually say this?
oh, absolutely,
Oh
absolutely.
Lord. Okay.
Because what this does is now I'm sure some of the listeners, girl, you need to go ahead and dump him to the side. When am I going to take him out? If we like each other,
Yeah.
if it's not about me paying for you, whether you're independent or not, unless you're saying you want to be old school traditional, but there's other things that come with that, right? But that's
Yeah.
where the conversation would go. I would ask them that because I wanted to see if you were appalled by it. Because to me, that would mean you think the next 2 or 3 dates while we get to know each other means I'm supposed to pay for you. And at the end of it, you decide that you don't want to do anything else with me. And I don't mean sexually, I just mean you don't want to further the relationship, but you got 2 or 3 dates out of me. And at least one of them is going to be a really nice dinner. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But you telling me that you're not willing to contribute early on in the dating process to let me know that you also care about me. If I could spend $20 on you, you can't spend $20 on me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that would let me know right out the gate if we were going to have date number two or not, whether it was because they decided they didn't want to, which was great, or because I decided that I wasn't going to. Um, and I usually got, one or two answers. Oh, I'm old fashioned, I'm traditional. And as I said, oh, beautiful, that's beautiful. What's your role then as old fashioned and traditional? Because you know, I know you know what mine is. The man's supposed to pay for this. The man's supposed to pick me up and drive here and do. He's supposed to. Man's supposed to do all these things. But I want to know if you know what your role is. And
Mhm.
most of them don't know. They don't. You know, they have no clue because
Right.
it doesn't benefit them or it's not really of concern. They just need to know what the,
Mm.
he's supposed to do. Um, or they say, well, you know, I'm independent. I'm doing my okay, good. So then as an independent woman, that means you take care of yourself, right? Or you can at least contribute to halfway for us. This is supposed to be about a us
Mhm.
relationship,
Mhm.
you know. And so I used to do it. I didn't care. I sometimes they'd be like, I don't do it. I said, okay, cool. Sometimes they'd be
Oh,
like, I'm not used to doing it, but they would.
yeah.
Um, and we the ones that would we probably went on a couple more dates or we started talking or you know
Mhm.
whatever it was but I feel like it was a easy way to kind of separate them early on in the game
Yeah.
because I had one woman that said she didn't start paying for stuff until I'm sorry let me give you the sequence of events. She says she's usually only dates guys for about 90 days and
Okay.
then they
Oh.
break up. And I said, well, why do you guys break up? Is it you breaking up with him? Is it he's breaking up with you? What's happening? She's
Mhm.
like, I usually break up with them. I don't really know. I just, you know, 90 days is usually the average. Beautiful. So we fast forward to dinner. I asked her when she's going to take me on a date. She said, oh, I don't believe in paying for men, you know, unless we've been dating for like 3 months.
You gotta make it to
I
the
was,
finish line.
I said, excuse me, didn't you tell me that you break up with the guy after 3 months? So you
Yeah.
break up with him right before you're supposed to start paying for stuff. So you date a guy for 3 months, get free everything, and then you break up with him and then go find a new guy and date him for 3 months
Mm.
and get free
Mm.
everything. No, man. But she
Did you
ended up
dump
taking
her?
me on a date. No,
Oh,
no, she
did
took
she?
me on a date. Yeah, she took me out.
I'd have dumped her. But no, I'm just kidding. I'd have dumped her. I'd have dumped. Yeah, I'm learning the gift of goodbye.
Mhm.
I am because yeah, I probably would have. I can be kind of shady. Like I literally realized that in my whole dating process that I can really be shady. I
Mhm.
think because I tolerated some craziness in my past, and now I'm like, nope, nope, gonna
Yep.
just cut that right now. And I smile and I'm good with it. Like but Daniel, all seriousness, I think it's like whenever you really understand your value
Mhm.
and you truly understand who you are and what not only what you want but really what you deserve, it
Yes.
changes things for you and it makes other people uncomfortable
Th-
because you're
Yes.
cutting some things out of your life that otherwise they have enjoyed, like the liberty of
Mhm.
having access to you,
Mhm.
having your yes always coming their way. I can be very accommodating. However, now I'm like, let me stick to these affirmations because these affirmations hold true to me and it holds them true to me as well, and it holds me true to them as well. So being timely,
Yes.
you know, we have a disagreement and then, I'm ready to talk with you within another few minutes or maybe tomorrow, and you're holding a grudge for another 4 days. That's not timely to me. And that's
Correct.
to me, it's I mean, short of someone being in a coma or in prison, to me, that, is very immature
Mhm.
as adults. I think that there should be some type of time and understanding of when we're going to come back and settle this situation. And again, this is about
Yes.
if you're with people that you care about. So things like that. I think that with age and experience, I've evolved to this space, and at some point, someone will be able to respect that and be like, okay, she means well. I know she don't have any ill intent. So, and she's very clear on it. And I think personally, I can respect the person showing up honest and true and authentic, and understanding that if they can't be honest all the time because maybe they do have that fear and they got to get over that, being large enough and big enough to come back and say, look, I should have been able, I want to be able to talk to you. And I allowed these fears to come upon me if this is a safe space and time to talk, then I need to, you know what I mean? I want to get
Hmm.
this out. I want to make this right. That's, I can respect you for that. Of course,
Yes,
I can't respect you being on a, this being your normal way of just getting out of crap. But when I see your growth, because we all got to grow. I'm
exactly.
not always going to be able to show up perfect. You know what I mean? I'm not always going to be able to, because I have my own vulnerabilities. I have my own places I want to hide. I have my own dark closets that I'm not ready to reveal to you, but
Yeah.
when we create this space intentionally, and that's why I say I think the art of communication we've lost some of it. And it might not be a global thing, right? It could be just me. It could be just that, you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
when we understand the importance of communication and put that at the forefront of what we're doing and how we're living our life and being authentic with those around us, if we're dating, we understand the art of courtship and not be so lazy in this process of having and getting what we truly want and being honest when we show up in the courtship space. Then I think we can have, which takes me to better, stronger, more authentic connections.
Yes.
You know what I mean? How when you take a plug and you plug it into the wall and there's electricity there and there's surging, then we can make something happen. But if we can't
Hmm.
get a straight, strong connection, then the light can't shine. So
Exactly.
that's how I think I want to start looking more at relationships. At relationships. I'm saying that like I haven't been, but I have been. Um, but I think I've teetered and I've tottered. I've allowed,
Hmm.
I've given permission for mess in
Yes.
certain areas for myself and for others.
Hmm.
I want to be better.
So I do. So you talked about acceptance, right, with self. And so a part of being comfortable in your own skin and accepting who you are and knowing what you can bring to the table. In the army, we talk about our NCOs. You got your junior soldiers, you got your NCOs, it's your leadership. And not every NCO can bring everything to the table, right?
Okay. Hmm.
But for me, hey, I'm not your PT guy. Like I can PT you, but don't ask me to run more than 2 miles, right? And
Yeah.
some soldiers will be like, Sergeant Davenport is a weak NCO because he can't run more than 2 miles. He's never at the front of the pack. Hey, that's okay. I'm not that guy. I'm gonna run with you. I'm gonna try my hardest. I'm gonna do my best. I'll PT you in another way, right? But I can also lead you as an NCO. I can also teach you things. I can learn what I can bring to you is the critical thinking. I can bring to you the art of communicating, the
Mm-hmm.
ability to educate and train others, right? And that PT stud probably can't do no paperwork, right?
Yeah.
So learning and understanding what you as an individual bring to the table is important, is the important step of accepting who you are. And
Hmm.
when you learn to accept who you are, you can be truthful either in that courtship or just in your day-to-day life with your relationships and not allow that foolishness that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And so what that does is you start to build your reputation. And I think it's a quote, and it says, "I don't care what people think about me, but I do care about my reputation." And
Yeah.
so those two things for some people they blend, but they're separate,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because I don't care what people think about me. If you ask most of the people I interact with, they know there's no question about what Daniel is and is not going to accept across the board. There's no question that Daniel's going to tell you the truth. Now, do I lie? Yeah, but it's like 2% out of 100. So my reputation is I'm going to tell you the truth and I'm honest all the time, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I've set up purposely a reputation for myself across any board. You can get somebody from work, you can get somebody from my family, somebody I had to talk to in 10 years. They're going to tell you Daniel doesn't drink. Daniel's going to tell you the truth. Daniel's going to, if you ask him, he's going to tell you. It, I've set a reputation because I care about that. But when
Hmm.
somebody comes up to me and says something and they don't know me, or they say, "Oh, you're an a-hole," well, hey, let's discuss it, right? Because I may or may not be. It's an opportunity to learn about myself. But the minute you say something that doesn't make sense or it's not relevant, oh, okay, well, yeah, sorry you feel that way, or sorry I made you feel that way, or whatever it is. And I'm going to continue with me because I know. that what I did or who I am or what I'm doing is true to me. And
Yeah.
as you said, it makes people uncomfortable. I find mostly because it's different than what they're used to dealing with. It's not
Absolutely.
because of you specifically, but it's different than what they're used to.
Mhm.
You also mentioned something that caught my ear, where you talked about being intentional with them and them being intentional with you. It doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room for somebody to bring, that craziness into your space,
Yeah.
because you're saying, hey, this is what I like and don't like, and this is what I'm willing to accept and not accept. Most people want to have the room to be like, well, maybe, or I thought, or I wasn't sure. No, ma'am. I said clearly this, right? Did you hear me? You heard me
Yeah.
say it? And I'm gonna check with you. Hey, so I said this. We're on the same page? Okay. All right, cool. Because for me, I don't want to I don't want to argue. We only
Mhm.
have to argue if you were confused and I either don't believe you or,
Mhm.
but if we're on the same page at the beginning, when it comes up later, we just be like, hey, remember? You're like, oh, dang, you right, my fault. I ain't too easy. Let's move on. And
That's
that's
correct.
okay,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I love talking with you because one, I just love how you articulate, your view. You talk about so many things. It's not just love and relationships, but this is the space that I enjoy the most. So thank you for indulging me with all of this.
Uh, hey, thank you. Thank you.
When we're talking about the communication, the courtship, we're talking about connecting, we're talking about being authentic and true and understanding like what we're bringing to the table and value and so on and so forth. Um, I have an upcoming series where I'm speaking on the five love languages.
Mm.
And I want to know your thoughts on how important is it for you to know your love languages or love language and your partner to know your love language and vice versa.
Excuse me. It vary. So my wife was like, "Hey, we need to go ahead and do this thing, right? Because bumps in the road." And so we did it, and you know, it teaches you about yours,
Hmm.
and then theirs.
Hmm.
And so the tricky part though is your love language is not just how you receive it; it's also how you
How
give it.
you show it. Yes.
And so
Yes.
so if her love language is different than mine, if we're not talking about how I send it, then it's okay, right? Hey, this is how I receive it. So it's like, cool, just give me what I like to receive.
Yeah.
But the catch is it's not just how you receive it, it's also how you
No.
give it. So if my love language is I want to shower you with gifts, and yours is time, what was it, time and
So it's time, affirmations, personal touch,
right,
acts like service and gifts.
right. So let's say it's words of affirmation,
Hmm.
and I like to give you gifts. It's not just, hey, give you words of affirmation. I have to fight myself in my own language of love, which is gift giving, to not do it, and then also to give it how you want it. So
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword, but I think it's really important because at a minimum you at least know how what your partner would like,
Hmm.
because as we said earlier, at least knowing and having an opportunity to succeed is the first step. So I think it's very important. If couples haven't done it, even if you're a new couple, you know, do it. Why not? And you do it over time because it changes as you grow and mature, or things change in your life, or things change in your relationship. Do it again. I want to say the website says if it's been like 90 days or maybe 6 months or something. I
Yeah.
think 90 days is short, but 6 months or something like that.
Yeah.
Do it again. It's
Yeah.
it's very important.
I was trained to be a facilitator of the five love languages some
Mhm.
years ago. And I was teaching and training and coaching and just engaging with military families and service members and government workers up at Fort Myer.
Hmm.
And this was my job. I was a community educator, and so I became certified in a few of these assessments and programs, and and Gary Chapman, sitting under five love languages just was amazing to me. I absorbed it like a sponge. It just made perfect sense.
Hmm.
And I believe, and in those classes, the train the trainer, I realized that it's truly a choice how we choose to love a person the way they truly see and receive love. And before five love languages was ever created, I think in nature we were choosing to do this if it mattered.
Hmm.
If your if you knew your girlfriend or wife enjoyed getting pearls, you paid attention to that and you would go buy her a string of pearls, especially when you were in the doghouse, right? You know what I'm saying? Or if you knew that, your guy really loves, let's say, physical touch, or let's just say sexual touch. And because of whatever life issues were going on, you were unable to be intimate. You would say, I'm so happy, baby, that you did this. I'm going to reward him tonight by giving
Hmm.
him that thing he liked. So this was see by nature, right? We didn't even need five love languages. It was just by nature
Yeah.
we realized what our partner wanted and longed for, and you were willing to give that. And I think a lot of people, I think we do that. I think we just don't understand when the person is feeling lack, because especially when your life is so busy, especially in the
Yeah.
area we live in, we become very busy. And if you're not paying attention, you won't even realize that their love tank is running empty.
Yep.
And you will be like, well, my God, I pay the bills. I come home every night. I don't know why she's still tripping. Well, see, the problem is not because it's not because you're not paying the bills, you are, but it's because you are coming home exhausted. And so when you do come home, you want to go out on the back and you want to smoke a cigar, then you want to run in the house and take your shower, then you go downstairs, you grab your brown liquor, you watch football game, you go to sleep. So here's the real issue is that your woman is starving from personal touch or a physical touch or some quality time. So she's content with everything else. But when's the last time you just invited her down to the basement with no game on and you just say, hey, babe, let's put on some music and dance the way we used to? You see what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
I just, I learned so much in those classes. And so what I'm doing is I'm creating a small series where I'm going to talk about each love language, just that one singular love language. And then I want to talk about, um, hopefully, the things I've learned and how I believe we can best apply these languages in the choice
Each
and the
one.
art of, yeah. Because you, if you don't know your love language, if you're not able to articulate it, let me say it this
Hmm.
way, because I think you know what you need, and you know what you're missing, but you may not be able to articulate it. I want us to win. And I believe it's important to be able to, again, have these conversations early so you
Hmm.
know who you're dealing with. Because some people are like, I ain't doing all that. This is
Yep.
how I'm going to give you a perfect example, real quick, quick story. I was seeing a guy, and my love language is definitely not gift. Okay. Gifts are great. But as you see my background, I don't need a whole bunch of fancy smancy to be happy. I'm really cool, right?
Hmm.
Buy me a bush of some sage and give me a good book and I'm good. Let's sit back and let's just do that, right? So
Hmm.
I was very clear that gifts was not my one or two. Let's just put them in an order. But gifts was his love language. He showered me with gifts all the time. And I mean
Hmm.
expensive gifts. He was bringing Christian Dior, he was bringing UGG boots, he was bringing this. Who can do any of this? I mean, I'm thankful, and I'm always
Right.
going to show you gratitude and say thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But internally, I'm still longing for the quality time because you just coming by to drop this off don't mean anything to me. But he did that. And I remember him, he was very selfish. I remember him saying to me, I mean, that's how I show love. He didn't hear me once say, but how I receive love is by having quality time.
Yes.
And I do like physical touch, but not sexual touch. That's not what I'm going for.
Hmm.
If you give me the other stuff I want,
You might get the
everything
other one.
else falls into place. Yeah. And then mind you, and I don't want to come off as if it was just about me. No, no. I wanted to understand what his language was. His language wasn't gift. Receiving wasn't gift. You see what I'm saying? But he gave. That was his language to give. So I had to learn what is his language, but affirmation. He
Hmm.
was a money chaser. So affirmation was his prior, his number one
Hmm.
love language. That was his first priority. And I tried to give him that. Unfortunately, I was starving on my side. So it's difficult when your cup is empty or halfway empty. It's very difficult to pour from an empty cup.
Hmm.
Again, I think it's very, very important to be able to articulate, and you have to have a person that's listening and on that same level or willingness to hear it so that it don't fall on deaf ears.
Yeah. You caught me when you said you apparently you mentioned something to him and he said, well, this is how I show love. And if the intent of giving love is for the other person to receive it, then how you give it is not necessarily relevant. Not in a
Exactly.
negative way. It's not relevant. Now, if you're doing
Yeah.
it for you, like, hey, this is how I want to do it, and I hope you receive it. And if you don't, I don't know any other way,
Mhm.
then that's at least a conversation where we can discuss about how we won't continue. But but to just tell me this is how I do it,
Yeah.
but you're saying you're doing it for me. You're trying to give me love. So wouldn't it matter how I receive it?
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's
Yeah. Yeah. But the biggest part, Daniel, is you said one thing like, if this is, basically if this is all you got, then we can have a conversation how we're gonna, basically part ways. And that's true, right? Because again, you gotta be flexible. You have to be flexible in this relationship so that,
mhm,
and you gotta be willing to learn something new.
yes.
I've been with this person for X amount of years. I didn't even realize that she didn't even like okra. No, but she was courteous enough that she was taking herself through this, eating this okra, so you felt good.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But see, the part that I have an issue with, not really, really an issue, but I think that this is where I need to be authentic and true to myself. I never liked the okra. Let me just share that in the beginning, baby. I really don't like okra. I mean, if you cook them,
Hmm.
I may just grab one or two, but don't take offense. I just don't like okra. I will taste them though.
That part, right? Tell me. Everybody's not receiving, right? Everybody can't receive that type of honesty.
Hmm.
But yes, I believe my wife, there's a limited number of vegetables that I eat. Baby, you
Hmm.
eat broccoli? Because hey, you can make it. I just won't eat it. It's not against you. I don't like it. I
Yeah.
it's not it's not about you. It's not about how you cooked it.
Yeah.
There's some stuff she tries to cook. So like cabbage, I think I ate cabbage a couple times, like just straight out cabbage.
Hmm.
But she makes it, and I'm like, yo, babe, this is great. I love this. So she like I eat her cabbage. I don't eat other
Yeah.
people's cabbage. I don't do,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But being honest and being open and just
Mhm.
communicating with somebody, it's okay. So you said she was being courteous enough to eat the okra. And so I same thing with the love, right? And I mentioned this to my wife before and other people. When you say you're being courteous, again, the intent is for the other person. So if the other person says, hey, tell me the truth next time, and you come back next time and you lie again because, well, I was just trying to be courteous. I didn't want you to
Mm-mm.
think it. No, 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 no. We've already discussed that telling the truth is what's courteous to me. So,
Yes.
so don't say you're being courteous when you're lying. Say, I X, Y, and Z, and that's why
Mhm.
I did it. but don't say
Yeah.
it's because you're being courteous, you
Yeah.
know? And I think
Yeah.
that's a hard concept for some people to it's really hard for people to really separate, or articulate perhaps what you're doing for someone else versus what you're doing for you, and then identifying the real reason you're doing it instead of blurting out the first thing that comes to your mind or what you think might keep you safe, because usually it's a
Mhm.
safety or fear thing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Some people just lie because they don't want to look like what it is that they think you're going to see them as.
exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, I, you know, I don't want you to think that I'm ungrateful. I don't want you to think I don't appreciate you. I don't want to stop thinking for the other person and just and be okay with whatever the outcome is going to be. It just is going to be, because it's worse if you lie and you find out and you now I'm looking at you like you're a liar.
Exactly.
Because it's actually worse, and you're right. I think it is a hard concept for people, because I never forget I dated this guy, sweet guy, really sweet guy. But I cooked some sweet potatoes for him, sweet potatoes, a whole one. I thought it was going to be like, I mean, I hooked that sweet potato up. I brown sugared it, cinnamon. I had the best butter slathered on top. It was nice and just kind of just sitting in that, little trench I had made in this hot sweet potato. And he bit it. He said, "I hate sweet potato." He said, "Babe, I'll take." I mean, I was like, "No, you're gonna love these because now I'll put this new look. I made this little sauce my kids love." He said, "I hate sweet potatoes." It didn't matter how sweet I made it, how buttery I made it. He hates sweet potatoes. And I would tell you, Daniel, for a moment, I was offended because I put so much effort. But the truth is that he had already told me that he didn't like
Hmm.
sweet potatoes. And I thought I could convince him to like sweet potatoes. 'Cause I'm coming from
There it
Texas.
is.
I'm doing all this extra. That was so unfair.
No. Hmm.
Now, after I got over myself, I laughed about it and I ate sweet potato myself. But that was a learning lesson for me. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
he did not, I'm not gonna say he didn't care how I felt. He cared more about his truth. Babe, I really don't like sweet potatoes. I learned a lot from dating him because he was
Hmm.
just that guy. Um,
Yes.
and it took me a while to get used to, because again, his intent was he never had malicious intent. Not when it
Hmm.
came to telling me the truth, um, about like our stuff, right? He was very delicate and he was honest, and I could always rely on him to be open, even if it made me uncomfortable. But I began to just respect that that's who he was. Um, but yeah, we
Learning
gotta.
to listen to what he's saying
Yeah.
versus how it's making you feel.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I realized. I mean, I think I wrote something there. I said, listen to your heart and feel the energy. His energy was never to offend. He was just
Hmm.
honest, babe. I just don't like these sweet. But I told you I ain't like sweet potatoes. Yeah. So I just believe, I believe in growth, and I believe that the older I get, the more I grow. I don't know. I know we're not all growing at the same speed. I do realize that. I do.
Yes.
I do realize that. But I believe in growth, and I think for me, I'm certainly better as a human than I was 10 years ago. Um,
Hmm.
my way of thinking, um, my desire for those around me, my intent with those around me. And I just believe that that's how we should show up in our relationships, whether it's intimate partner, family, whatever. Now, I really get offended and I'm to my internal offense when I'm trying so hard to be better and to show up, and then someone on the other end just has not budged in their growth. And I'm like, uh, but we are growing at different rates. And
Yes.
I don't have it all right. I don't have it all right. So I'm still trying to figure it out. I just want to be better and be able to take the constructive criticism without thinking, oh my God, it's the end of the world.
Hmm.
You know?
So something I'm me and my wife, right? So you said we're growing at different speeds. And I think in conjunction with the different speeds is what area we're growing in.
Oh yeah.
So my wife is there's some things she's really great at. Like she's really good
Hmm.
at math. She's good at, I mean, she's had a family for 17 years, right? So,
Yeah.
so she is further along in that growth area
Hmm.
than I am
Hmm.
because this is my
Hmm.
first family.
Hmm.
Whereas my communication and the way that I am comfortable with myself, I've been doing that because people, Daniel, is not what you say, is how you say it. I've been getting told that for years from my mom before I left for the army. So I've constantly, my best friends, we check each
Yeah.
other, no holds barred, because it's all in love. So I've been constantly for years working on my communication and how I talk and how I receive, how I listen, growing myself and learning to be comfortable with me and knowing where she hasn't. So not only are we at different speeds with the growth in the communication because we have to grow together, but it's completely new for her,
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's not even just the different speeds. It's like, okay, so this subject, you're a toddler, and I'm like a teenager. In
Hmm.
this subject, I'm a toddler and you're a grown adult.
Yeah.
But respecting and accepting the other person where they're at in their growth period,
Hmm.
especially when there's honesty and communication involved, allows you to minimize how much you're like, oh, they're not even budging because you understand, like, oh, this is brand new for them, you know. But the honesty has to come from them that they recognize, hey, I'm still learning and it's brand new and I'm not there. Where I struggle, and I don't know if this is kind of what you meant, when I don't see the movement on my wife's side, not because there's not movement, but because she's presenting herself as if there was and she got it on lock and it's
Hmm.
already good to go. No, ma'am.
Yeah.
If you're good to go, then I gotta treat you like you're good to go. But if you can acknowledge that you're not good to go and you're still learning, then it's okay that you fell short or that you missed the mark. That's
Hmm.
okay all day. Hey, my fault, my bad.
Yeah.
Thought I had it. All right, cool, let's keep it going. But when it's
Yeah.
like, what's the problem? Oh, no, ma'am. So different speeds, different
Yeah.
areas, different start lines.
Hmm. Hmm.
And,
But
and
that's the, I mean, that's the art of bringing two people together. That's coming from two different backgrounds, and
yeah,
everything's different. It's a work. It is truly a work, and I think that's why it's important during courtship. It's important for the communication and lay down that groundwork, put that foundation. I mean, and I can only say this because I don't want, if any of my exes are listening, be like, she thinks she know it all. No, but I learned it all from those
exactly.
relationships. Because I screwed up a lot. A lot of mine was just tolerance, but growth I know is very big because when I talk to people and you're in the same space that you were 5 years ago,
Hmm.
or your actions are still the same, but your words are different. Hmm.
Hmm.
It is important. It is very important, I think, for us all to grow. But self-awareness is even more important. Because if you don't have the awareness to know that you are still stunted, you're going to stay in the same place. But this is, again, this
Hmm.
is a life lesson. It's not even just a relationship, it's
Correct.
life,
Yeah.
all things connected. All things connected,
Yes.
all things connected. Okay. So before we wrap it up, got a couple questions for you because I want
All
your opinion.
right.
I want your opinion. So let's see. I think I can start with we understand this whole dating thing. We understand how communication is extremely important. We understand the foundation. We understand the love languages being very, very important. Um, what do you see when people are, let's say, let's say they're in a relationship and they've thought they've gone, all the places they think they want to go with that relationship as far as they started the intimacy, they're living together, they're, possibly getting married, right? How do you see the importance of, because it may have already, but how do you see the importance of counseling and,
Oh, let me sit up in my chair for this one.
because I hear a lot about self care, right? We hear a
Hmm.
lot about self care, and that sometimes can come off kind of selfish. It's not. I'm all for self-care, but sometimes self-care is like, I'm gonna do this over here, and I'm talking about counseling, the togetherness, the how do you see that for benefit or detriment of a relationship?
I think I think it can only be beneficial. And what I mean by that is it may end a relationship, but that's beneficial,
Mm,
right?
mm, mm,
Because
mm,
it may
mm.
show some things that you guys didn't see, and you can say, "Oh, I was not aware." this this will be our last session because this will be the last time we together, right? So I only see, and when I say counseling, so I've only been to, I was in a counseling. It was like a married couples counseling thing. These weren't certified people. It was through our church. So it
Yeah.
was like a married couple in the church and
Mhm,
me and my wife.
mhm.
That was my first experience with any type of counseling. And now we're going to a actual licensed therapist.
Okay,
Go ahead and do a plug here. Emotionally focused therapy,
got
right?
it.
And EFT. That type of therapy is not about saying just change what you're doing. It's about learning and understanding the emotions of yourself and your partner deeper
Mhm.
than what we can do just sitting here talking, right?
Yeah.
Um, and taking those things, and when you understand it, then it's like, okay, now you share what you were feeling and what you're thinking and how it really means, right? Creating that safe space. So the therapy that a person can receive, right? Proper therapy,
Mhm.
um, or counseling really can open up not just you, but your spouse or a significant other to some things that they may not have been able to articulate or put words to before. And it may not happen in the session. It may be after the session. You're going over what happened. You're thinking about the things that your significant other shared or that you shared, and you come to some epiphany. Or I think it's amazing. I
Yeah.
personally have always wanted to do a type of counseling just on my own or in general,
Yeah.
because I'm like, I want people, I learn from talking to others and others talking to me and behavior and people giving me, their thoughts of me might spark
Mhm.
something I never thought about, which allows me to look deeper into myself. I'm definitely all about self-awareness, right?
Mhm.
Um, so for me, counseling is always a plus
Yeah.
in a relationship, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with it. You know,
Yeah.
they don't need to know my business, and who are they? And
Yeah. Oh, yeah, been there.
it. I don't want to say it's. I don't know if bad's the proper term. I don't think it's bad. I think it could it could add hardships to the relationship, because to me that's already saying you're not open to, let's call it, different perspectives
Mhm.
or anything outside of what you think up here.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's important that if a person is strictly stuck in what they think and how they feel, they probably need to reach out to somebody who's close enough to them that can help them bounce ideas off of. But
Yeah.
at the same breath, it shouldn't become the primary, because the relationship between you and your significant other is your relationship between you and the significant other. That was
Absolutely.
a tool, like therapy or counseling is. It's a tool to help you kind of get out of your own mind
Mhm.
and see it from a bird's eye perspective and sort some things out, and
Mhm.
then get back into it and put those things to work that you learned.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important,
Yeah.
to get into. Absolutely.
I agree. I do agree, and I think it's sometimes people don't want to face their own demons, their own deficiencies. They don't want to feel that they're wrong. Again, though,
Hmm.
we're talking about growth. Maybe I am wrong,
Correct.
and maybe it does matter. And I think that when you're with someone that absolutely refuses to get some type of like help for the relationship to make it better. I mean, and I don't think you have to go to counseling or go to like relationship sessions when the relationship is horrible. I think you can just, you be willing to be like, yo, you heard about this person that's coming to town. You want to go? What about this book? I mean, I think it's great to embrace that in the relationship. I brought up the self-care because I believe in relationship care. I believe in
Hmm.
marriage care, right? And we talk about that self-care, such an individual space, but we need couple care, right? So
Hmm.
that's why I ask you, how you feel about it and the importance of it in relationships. So hopefully someone listening tonight, we're saying something that makes them think, or maybe even validates their own feelings and how they've been thinking and feeling, and maybe didn't want to say it to their partner, or felt like it was too early. I don't think it's ever too early to start talking about relationships and how we, see things and our opinions and our
Hmm.
philosophy. I mean, these are things sometimes in the beginning of meeting someone, they'll tell you that's too heavy to talk about. Well, when is the right time to talk about it?
Right. I
It
mean,
can't be because we have issues that we talk about it.
correct.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, obviously there's some things you're not gonna be like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm in bankruptcy right now. Like
Right,
you
right,
might not
right,
share that
right,
on the
right,
first
right,
date.
right.
But like 3 dates in, as we're talking about it, like, yeah, I kind of do need to, you know, if we start talking about more than just dating or more than just intimacy, if that's what we're doing,
Yeah,
then we do need to talk financial situation.
yeah,
Because what we won't be doing is one person's footing the bill and the other person's not. Or, hey, let me move into your house because, I'm
yeah,
staying on my friend's couch. Like, you know,
right.
I do believe early on we need to get past what we think is heavy or not. And it is kind of a blurred line as to when to do it, but that's part of the
Mhm.
communication as you
Yeah.
get comfortable with the person when you guys are, doing the courting.
Yeah, and if this is going somewhere, we might as well open up the bag. Like,
Hmm.
and again, delivery is everything, right?
Correct.
Delivery is everything. Now, please don't be listening to us, and you just turn around to your partner and be like, "Yo, don't do that." You better. I mean, you may want to wait till after y'all, done a few something else, is it?
Something else holding up, keeping them
Oh, no,
staying.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, but delivery is everything. Timing is
Yes.
everything. But don't hold pertinent information and things that really matter to you. Don't hold that back in that.
Hmm.
Don't hold out because you're only cheating yourself.
Yeah.
I really believe you're cheating yourself, and I believe for those that are on the receiving end, be open, be a little more open to hear people. We are human, and we're coming with life experience
Hmm.
behind us. This conversation isn't for the 19-year-old.
Right.
Although I am having a conversation with a group of 19, 20, 22, 25-year-old women.
I bet
And
that's interesting.
oh my God, I cannot wait.
Let me have it. I'll be your guest speaker. I'll
Oh
come
my,
in and I would love to.
yeah, I
I would
cannot
love to.
wait. I have that set up, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to the ladies. But so lastly, before we roll out, Daniel, tell me what you learned about life in 2020.
Whew. What did I learn about life? Um, Obviously at the top of the list is like COVID, right? And how that
Yeah.
impacted the world, not the DMV, not, Europe or just the United States, but like the world. Um, and if you're a spiritual person, you believe in God and you believe, that he has a plan, you could say, hey, this was part of his plan because there was so many things that changed the world simply from COVID coming out. You know, um, I learned about family. I learned about spending time. I mean, I'm in the army, so I've been deployed and done the same
Yeah.
thing day to day for 9 months, right? But doing it with the ones that you love, learning a lot about myself,
Mhm.
um, learning, what my left and right limits were as far as what I can tolerate, what I can't tolerate, what I'm willing to do for people that I love, what my job and those who I work for, how much they're invested in me,
Mhm.
not just as a employee, but as a person with a family. Um, 2020 was also, it wasn't all bad.
Yeah.
The things that came out of, and it's hard to kind of, I'm trying to think of things outside of COVID, but that was kind of, it was March 2020. Like
Uh,
it started
Oh,
it started
COVID was 2020.
right, it started the
2020
year
was
off.
COVID. Yeah.
So I mean, staying home, watching the relationships get strained, and wondering, I do a lot of, I said earlier, I'm all about self-reflection. Like before I speak, I think, am I contradicting or being hypocritical? Before I take action, I think, okay, did I say or do something different, or do I expect somebody else to accept it when I accept it? I like, before things leave from my area, I check myself. And so the relationships with my youngest daughter and my wife and my 16-year-old, and just, they were strained, and then they, opened back up.
Mhm.
And it's like, was that just because of COVID, or was that what was going to happen anyway in the relationship? Because I mean, it's still new, like 2 years into marriage, so
Mhm.
it's technically still new, but just learning about life, and learning about myself, and learning about my spouse and my children.
Mhm.
Learning about the world, friends, people posting. You couldn't go see people, so they could only post. And most of the time, social media is full of make believe, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
after being on lockdown for so long, the truth is bound to start leaking out, because you got to get it somewhere, right? And so
Yeah.
people started sharing, their true selves. I call her my big sister, but it's one of the parents of one of my kids from my volunteer organization, which is TAPS. And you know, she was struggling with a lot of the stuff going on in the world, not COVID specifically, right? But the things that were going on in the world, and and she had made a post on Facebook, and I was dropped the eyeballs, because I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it took like a week or two, and she messaged me and was kind of like, "Hey, I you know that I love you, and I'm just trying to, I don't know, I'm questioning a lot of things right now." And it was hard. It was hard. And her daughter, which is, my mentee from the program, which
Mhm.
really is my daughter. She's like my oldest daughter.
Yeah.
Um, she's like, "Hey, I love you," and she is like having friends say things around her. And she's like, "Do you guys know who Daniel is to me? Like, do you know?" Obviously, this is a white family, right? And
Yeah.
and she's like, "Do you guys know what he means to me? Like, why would you think these things are okay?" And so,
Mm.
I mean, relationships were strained. I have a best friend who's a cop, and back in 2008, he made a comment, and I didn't say anything about it. And it wasn't super bad. It was, I mean, he's a cop, so he had to deal with certain things, and so he made a
Mhm.
comment, and I just, and so this time around, I've kind of not engaged him on the subjects.
Mhm.
And I would probably say that's the only situation I could think of where I was like, I might lose a friend if I engage in this.
Yeah.
I know that, I know what I do know about him, but how people articulate things are not necessarily who they always are at their core.
Right.
It's just
Right.
how they know how to articulate. And I've not said this to anyone, but I think if I would have engaged him, it could have strained our relationship. And I think that's
Right.
why I didn't.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, 2020 showed a lot of people, forced a lot of people to show who they were
Yeah.
across the board.
2020 showed us who we are.
Yeah.
Showed us who we are. I totally agree. Well, Daniel, we're going to wrap. And as always, it is always wonderful talking with you. We can chat. Of course, we can always chat offline. So
Yeah.
we can chat. I love when you stop by the relationship zone. I love when we get to have these deep conversations about love, life, and all things relationships. I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for joining me here in 2021. We made it.
Yeah. Or did we? Right?
Or
It's
did
crazy.
we? We're about 9 or so days in, and life is life is showing up again. So
Yes.
I'm thankful for it all, though. We're
Yes.
here. We're able to talk about it. We're able to laugh, and engage. And we're pretty darn resilient, but we still feel it. So, but I'm glad to be able to share this space with you and with our listeners. And to our listeners, this is Daniel, and he'll be back again.
Looking forward to it. I'm
He'll be,
anytime. I'm
yeah,
love to be
I love
here.
it.
I love these conversations,
Yeah,
critical, emotional, in
yeah.
depth, honest.
Yes,
It's
honest,
great.
honest, honest. It could get us in trouble sometimes. So, this is a risk that we take, and so thank you for putting
Thank you.
yourself out there. And I hope that you join me again once I finish the series about the five love languages. I would love to have you back, and I'm sure you have the book, and I have all the material over here. So I would love to bring you back as we have a group discussion surrounding
Uh,
the five.
Send me the invite.
I
I
will
will be
definitely
there.
do that.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
again, thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, and good night.
Night. All right, everyone. Hey, I enjoyed that conversation with Daniel tonight. Did you enjoy it? He's such an intellectual type of brother. I love talking to him. Such a good spirit. Um, really enjoys communication and talking and discussing love and behaviors and life. I mean, it's just a really, really nice to have these types of conversations with people that are passionate about it. In the background, I am playing my boy D'Amico Star. You can follow him on social media. He really has such a beautiful voice. So if you can hear that playing in the background, yeah, that is my boy D'Amico Star. Check him out on IG. Check him out on Facebook. Mainly IG. You can catch his music on iTunes and probably Spotify. Well, I need to ask, but I'll make sure that I leave his information in the comments, or I'm sorry, down in the bio of this podcast. Tonight we talked about the art of communication and how I personally think a lot of us have lost it. Our courting and connecting, and we finished up with talking about five love languages, and the importance of um, relationship care and marriage care, and what we learned from 2020. In 2020, or 2020 taught me that some things I can just go without. Some things I can, you know, I can cut loose, I can get rid of, I can not tolerate. And then there are other things that I absolutely cannot live without to my fullest self, and things I don't want to live without. Um, and that's love, and that's connection, and that's an appreciation for life and all the things that I'm blessed to have um, still. You know, 2020 taught me a lot. It taught me about relationships. There are relationships that I need to cut loose. I need to go without. I need to clean up my life um, and rid myself of some baggage. And I'm sure 2020 taught many of you some of these same things. Um, and with that being said, um, I just wish the best for all of us in continuing to learn and to grow in this thing called life, and figuring out how we can participate and show up in relationships, to include a relationship with ourselves. And that's one of the biggest things is being honest and authentic and true to ourselves, no matter how uncomfortable it may make others around us. Deliver is everything, and there's a way to say and a way to do everything. But in it all, just be true to who you are. All right, it's your girl Queenie. I am wrapping it up. We are in 2021, and I want to do a few things different this year. I've affirmed to myself, and I share with you some of those same things I've affirmed to myself about relationships. And with that, I need to stick to my schedule, and it's a wrap for me. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for continuing to support the Relationship Zone, the podcast. And if you have a particular topic that you would like to, hear me kind of discuss or bring a subject matter expert to the show, then let me know. Drop me a message, leave me a note. You know how to reach me. I am all over social media. I'm not hard to find. It's been real, and I look forward to the upcoming series surrounding the 5 love languages. So, it's your girl Queenie. Love you all. Good night.